I like the extra.
Two viewers, yeah, yes. Is it on their site?
Yeah. Well, you gotta. It's the direct link ScoringLive.com/training/football.
Oh, so it's down on your webpage?
It's a direct, just like a.
I see.
Redirect. It's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's Trump's dead. I think looks like the Kalani people are gonna be maybe log in online. Okay. I mean, there's news too, right? Yeah.
course, in the gallery in the back, you know, no, that's all right. Welcome to the high school football statistics workshop. My name is Tom Yoshida. I'll talk a little bit more about myself a little bit later. But first, I want to know who you folks are. You know, what school you came from. What's your position, and you know, what do you want to learn from this? Let's start from the front row first. Yeah.
I'm Tui,
Hi.
also known as Andy, I guess. I work at HPU as Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete Success.
Excellent.
Graduated from Mililani.
Cool.
I'm here with my coworker Bailey, and we're learning stats because we just started women's flag football. So.
Very cool. Okay. Bailey.
Bailey Thurman. I am basically the sports information director at HPU. I graduated from Honolulu, and yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Go back.
Neil, representing Iolani, graduated Iolani. Just here to help my friend out.
All right. Okay.
I'm Jeff. I'm also Yolani grad. I'm the HBA girls flag football.
Excellent. Excellent.
I am Bree. I graduated from Collar Hill, but I'm representing Hyman Key.
Mm.
They're at a scrimmage.
Oh, great. Now the back group, they're basically the helpers out there. But just say your first name. Raiden. Kinoi. Harley. Great. Great. How many of you, show of hands, know a lot about football? Few. Okay. How about medium amount? How about hardly any? Okay. No, that's good. It's good fair share because we're going to talk about a lot of things today. Some will be definitely over your head, and some you may be familiar with. So we're going to try and break it down as simple, but yet informative enough so that you will understand what we're talking about here. Well, first of all, this is me. I started as a football statistician in 1979. My classmate asked me to see if he could help. If I could help be a statistician on the football team. Turns out my classmate's uncle is Hugh Yoshida, who was the legendary coach for Lelehua High School. So who knew back then that he was going to be this, you know, football state tournament winning coach? But, you know, I worked with him, and I've known him ever since. I graduated from Lelehua, started working at the UH Sports Information Office, Media Relations Office. They connected me to working all of these different television, K5, KHNL, Spectrum Sports. So I've been doing TV stats for a better part of, you know, over close to 40 years now. And I currently work with the HHSAA in terms of doing their sports stats, not just football, but all of these different sports. And I help compile the record books. So I think I have a little knowledge of sports. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. And so here's the items that we're going to go over. Do not be overwhelmed, but as Harley would say, football is the most difficult stat to keep track of because there, you can see there are so many aspects of the game. We're not going to tell you that you have to master everything. The good thing about it is that we have it on video so that if you want to always review it later on, you can always do that. I'll leave you my email at the end. If you ever want to email me, ask a question, more than happy to do so. But as you can see, we have all these different aspects of it. And the paper in front of you, you know, we'll have extra copies or links for you to, if you want extra copies. But use these in today's session. Take notes in terms of what we show you today. So again, a lot of things. I know I'm looking at your face, and this is what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a lot of question marks. I'm seeing a lot of dizzy marks. I understand. But first and foremost, if there's any questions, stop me and ask. Okay, that's the one thing I want to make sure that I want to make it as easy as for you as possible to pick up on a few things. The more questions, the better. Okay? All right? Any questions? Now, this applies to both regular football as well as flag football. Flag football, there's some subtle differences, but mostly keeping track of stats is the same. first and foremost, we want you to get ready and prepared for the season. What does that mean? Well, supplies. You want to make sure everybody has pens, pencils, maybe highlighters, as well as the stat sheets that are in front of you. Some of these stat sheets are really small boxes, so you might want to consider mechanical pencils and things like that. If you want to really get down into the weeds, you can use different color pencils because the way I track stats, I track by quarters, so I use different colors for each quarter because the more stats you have, the better you can tell a story. And from a journalist perspective, from what Brian does, stats basically tell the story of the game. And it's easier to write a story based on the stats of the game, in addition to interviewing the athletes and players. So we're hoping that if you learn stats and know how to master stats, you're basically writing a story of how this game came about. So also ask yourself, where are you going to be taking stats? You could be taking stats in one of two places. One could be the press box. Now, the advantages of the press box is clearly better viewing angles because you're higher up above. You might be sitting next with the PA announcer. They might have a spotter, so it's maybe easier to spot the players. The problem is that if you have a player that's not on your roster, it's going to be difficult to identify who the player is. Okay, so that's the pros and cons of having it in the press box. You could take stats on the field. You can have immediate feedback, especially on non-roster players. But to be fair, when you're on the field, it's harder to spot the yard line that you're at. And you have limited depth perception. And also, you're subject to the weather out there. And as we all know, it might get super hot or it could be raining. It might ruin your papers and things like that. So take all this into consideration. Both places where you take the stats is fine. It's just that know that there are certain things that are one is better than the others. Always make sure, as I said up on the top, make sure you have the rosters of both teams. And if you need help with rosters on both teams, you can always ask Brian at ScoringLive, who have rosters of the teams. Also, binoculars, because you can't probably see the team, the numbers and things like that. So you probably, especially if you're in the press box, you're definitely going to need to have something to help you identify the numbers. Any questions at this point? Also, it's very important, especially when you have something as fast as a game as football, you should consider bringing a friend or a partner to be your spotter. Because in case if there's multiple actions that take place, especially on the same play, the spotter can help you. Because being the statistician, you're writing stuff down and you have your head down and something else could happen. So again, very important. Having a spotter, it also helps you as well.
So for college, how many spotters would you recommend?
For let's say UH, I would probably have, if you run the game via computer, you have one computer, you have one recorder or a spotter, and generally you would have another person, 3 people. But minimally you'll need 2, because you definitely want to have the spotter call out the plays, and then somebody needs to record it. So that's why sometimes the third person is important, because they'll be recording, and then you have the computer operator that's inputting. And the computer operator would be looking at the recorder to see what they wrote down. So at UH, I believe they use 5 people for 11-man football. I would say minimum 2 or 3. Okay. Good questions. All right, now let's get into the weeds here. The first thing we're going to need to know is the fundamentals of down and distance. Does everybody know what down and distance is in football? Okay, if not, that's fine. Okay, so a down is an offensive play, and you're given up to 4 downs to gain 10 or more yards. Okay, in flag football, you're given 4 downs to go to the next line to gain, which is in flag, it's either the 20, the 40, the 20. But in 11-man football, it's 10 yards towards the opponent's goal. Okay? Distance means the number of yards you need to get a new set of downs. Okay? So basically, if in 11-man football, they take 10 or more yards within 4 downs, you're given a new set of downs, first down. Okay? Pretty much straightforward. Any questions on that? If not, we're going to move on. Again, stop me, ask me a question if there's any questions along the way. Okay? If you don't make 10 yards in 4 downs, it's a turnover. The other team gets the ball at that spot. Okay? So when you see the term 1st and 10, it means first down, first of 4 downs, 10 yards to go to reach a first down. Okay? You're also going to hear a term called 1st and goal. First of 4 downs, the goal is to go to the goal line, and the goal line is the touchdown line. Okay? So when you say goal to go, meaning that many yards for a touchdown. Okay? Now, you get a first down when the yardsticks are ordered forward, meaning that means they gain the 10 or more yards needed to reach the first to gain, or as the officials will call it, the line to gain. Okay? When there is a touchdown, if there was a first down before the touchdown, you can get a first down when you score a touchdown. So let's say you're on the 11-yard line and you score a touchdown. If you could have gotten the first down at the 1, you credit the 11 yards and a first down because you achieved the first down on your way to a goal. You can also get a first down where there is a penalty resulting in a first down, meaning let's say it's 1st and 5 and there is a penalty against the defense. The defense is then, it's a 5-yard penalty. The 5 yards takes it past the line to gain. New first down, you get a first down by penalty in that case. We'll talk a little bit more about types of first downs. Now, getting further, you can get 2 first downs when, let's say you have a play that takes you beyond the line to gain, and you have a penalty, normally 10 or more yards, that results in another first down. Okay? So let's say, for example, in this play, Team A's ball on the Team A's 10-yard line. Running back A1 runs for 20 yards to the 30. And then Team B is penalized 15 yards from that point to the Team A's 45. So you're going to credit A1 with a rush of 20 yards, charge Team B with a penalty of 15 yards, and Team A gets a first down by rush and a first down by penalty. Okay? Because the 20 yards is 1 first down, and even though they marched 15 yards, even though the sticks, didn't move, that would have been a first down had it not been for that penalty. Does everybody understand that, or I'm looking in the front row because.
Well, how would you say that? So, like, if you're being a spotter, how would you say that to the person that's doing the computer?
In terms of a first down?
Like, how would you say that so they would know how to stat it? Because like, you're not going to say all of that, right? Like, it's going to be shorter.
Right. So this is primarily for if you're doing it on paper, because you're manually giving 2 first downs on that play. The computer will recognize that because any penalty of 10 or more yards is assumed to be a first down. So that's why the computer will automatically award a new first down.
You asking for like the verbiage?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So it'd be like rush, for example, rush A1 to the 20 or to the 30, tackle by
Whatever.
whatever.
Then we have a penalty
on
on
the play.
B. Let's say a personal foul takes you to the A45,
Yeah.
and then
Do
it'll
you have
be
a section on verbiage?
not for this one, but when we get
Later
to,
on, though.
well, I mean, when we get to computer stats, I mean, we can talk separately about that.
So if we're just strictly doing paper just for stats and maybe not commentating or whatever, is there like a program like baseball has, what's it called? Baseball program.
Game changer.
Game changer.
Is there a game changer for football too?
There are different commercial models, but some of them, not all, well, they cost money. And for example, the ones that we currently use for when we take TV stats, that thing has been out of circulation for like 3 years. But there are new programs out there that they use in college, or there is another one. In fact, there's a new one that called Presto Sports. I think that some small colleges use. That's like $600. So that's how much. Was that? Yeah, Presto is. Yeah, it's not good. Oh, see.
So if you guys, for whether it's Iolani or whatever, well, for flag too, I mean,
It's probably too much.
I'm working on a program because for flag, it's a little different because I don't know if like Presto accounts for it, but it's 80-yard field, right? Unless they're gonna change it, which would be great if they did. But yeah, I'm trying to build it so that it can account for a 40-yard field, an 80-yard field instead of a 100-yard field, but still kind of know that the markings are still generally 50 is the, anyway, I'm working on it. But we have a program that you can use for high school, that it's our program that we use internally to do, and what I have to do is just build some access control so that I can only give like Iolani, like I told, well, Kenny's gonna use it for Iolani, I think. So, but yeah, we can give access to like a school to do their games, and they can stat it. Ours is a lot simpler, so like he's saying, like I don't account for like 2 first downs, but the system knows like when you assign, all it really knows is you want to put in stats, and it's ball spot A and ball spot B. But I still think it's important that we know like what's a first down, how we assign it, things like that. But will it really like impact how you take stats? Maybe not, but I mean, it's still important to know, because when you see them mark it off A and mark it off B, you know, what's going on? Well, that's the reason why, right? We're assigning a first down and we're assigning another first down. It still becomes a first down. So it, you know, ultimately it's a first down. But yeah, to answer your question about the stats, yeah, like by the time flag football comes, I hope I'll have something. It's just a matter of figuring out how that logic, I was talking to him before we started, like, how do we determine the real logic to flip a field from 100 that's split at 50 and make it 80? I mean, it should be okay, but yeah.
Well, I was just looking what stats are on your app, you know, and
Yeah.
that's really what we want.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna,
We want to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
record, right?
It records all of that, in fact, and like, even for a flag, like I was telling him, we can probably do assisted flag pulls this year as opposed to just solo flag pulls. But it just adds like he'll talk about, right? It adds to the complexity, and like we were talking about that too. We want to try to get us to do what we need, even though there's a whole range of things that we can do, and he'll probably talk about that. So yeah, but yeah, we'll get to that too, and I'll even do a flag football, probably a stat session like this one. But I mean, I'm glad you're getting ahead of it too. But okay, anyway.
Yeah, the fact that we're going to have 3 flags on each person's belt, the assisted tackles might even go up a little higher as a result of
And
that.
it's good for the, you know, obviously it'll be good for the kids to just, you know, get more credit for tackles and less, and it makes it easier than to have somebody have to always pick like, you know, which player gets it, and then it could be like, oh yeah, I know her. So anyway, yeah.
Okay, so we do not give first downs on any kind of special teams play, kickoff, punts, interceptions, fumble returns, no matter how long the play is. A lot of people thinking that, okay, if every 10 yards you get a first down. Well, not for these special teams plays, okay? So don't worry about special teams play. On an offensive play where the yards gained for a first down is negated when team possession is lost. Like, for example, during a first and goal from the 10-yard line, there is no chance to get a first down, so the total yards gain is 10, but no first down is awarded. In the previous example, let's say you're on the 50-yard line, you gain 20 yards, but you fumble and lost the ball. Even though you gain 20 yards, you don't get a first down because you lost the ball on a turnover. So no first down is awarded in that situation. So again, these are the exceptions. The most important thing, I think, to take out of this session is how to spot the football, because it's very important that that's where your yardage is recorded from where the ball is to start with and where the ball is going to head to. So here are the rules for spotting the football. So if any part of the football is touching on the hash mark, that's considered what yard line it is. However, if the football is between 2 hash marks, spot the ball with the nose towards the goal. That's where the next yard line, that's where the ball is going to be. spotted at. So, give you a visual example. Team A is driving from left to right. The ball is spotted here. So what's the spot of the ball? 20-yard line. Okay? Pretty straightforward because the ball rests on the hash. Okay? So if the ball is here, the ball is spotted on the 19-yard line, right? Because the ball is headed left to right. Now, what yard line is it? Is this the A's 9?
Sorry, can
Yeah.
you go back to the previous one?
The previous one? Sure.
They're driving that way,
Correct.
but you're saying it's the ball spotted on the 20.
Because the ball is touching the hash mark.
Okay. It's the back, even if it's the back side of the ball.
Yeah, any part of the ball is touching the hash mark, that's considered that yard line. Okay? So if we're between the marks, it always goes forward, where the nose of the ball is going towards. No, so specifically, what yard line are we on? Are we on the A19 or the B19?
Which was it 20, 30? Which way is it going?
Right, so we're going from left to right. So the right side is the goal.
You're on your own 20.
We're on the B20. Because the arrow mark right here, is this tells you where the goal line is closest to. Okay, so when you look at that, so we're on the opponent's side basically. So for marking purposes on your spotting, we're on the B19 yard line. Okay, so it's not just the 19 when you mark it down. Okay, any questions on that? All right. There are 4 exceptions to spotting the football. Okay, exception number 1: on a change of possession, it's possible that the yard line for one team may not be the same for that of the other team. So, for example, on 4th down, the team drives to this spot. So where is the ball now? What yard line are we on? Okay, we're on the B19, right? Because we're driving towards, we're on the B side of the field. So we are, so on 4th down, team A drives to the 19-yard line. But it's 4th down, change of possession. B drives. The ball is placed at the same spot. So where are we now? B20, correct. Okay? So when we start the new drive, the drive starts at the 20 and not the 19. Okay? So that's the subtle difference. So again, the same principles begins, it's just that we have to figure out what direction we're going in. Okay? Exception number 2, in certain situations where there is less than a yard to go for a 1st down, you spot the ball back 1 yard to conform with the principles that there must always be 1 yard remaining for a 1st down or for a touchdown. So,
Sorry, could you say that again?
Team A. See, all these confusion. Okay, Team A, 1st and 10 on the Team B's 30-yard line. Okay? Okay? On 1st down, Team A drives between the 20 and 21-yard line. So where is the ball spotted? So basically, we go 9.5 yards. Ball is spotted between the 20 and the 21. Where is the ball spotted? B21. Because under normal circumstances, it would be the 20, right? Right? Because the nose of the ball is between the 20 and 21. But because if we gave it to the 20, that would be 10 yards. The computer would say 1st down. But for stat purposes, you really only went 9 yards, even though you went 9.5 yards. So because of that, officially it's 2nd and 1 on the 21-yard line, even though there's only a half yard to go. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay? Got to check on your front row here. Yeah? Ask plenty of questions now. Okay, exception number 3. Oh, what happened here?
What happened?
I don't know. Oh, looks like they went on sleep mode.
The screen went on.
What was exception 1? Sorry.
Exception 1 was if after fourth down,
Let's change your position.
change of possession, the ball could face the other way. Okay. Exception number 3. When getting a new first down, the ball just rests outside the defensive team's 10-yard line. So in that case, you record the yards gained to the 10-yard line, but because for the purposes of the 1st and 10, you have to spot the ball on the 11-yard line. Okay? So let me try and make it as simple as possible. It's 1st and 10 on the Team B's 21-yard line. Okay? Okay? On the play, Team A rushes just outside of the 10-yard line. So it's a first down. But how many yards do we give, and where is the ball spotted? Okay, so think about that. 1st and 10, Team B's 21-yard line. Team A rushes just to the outside of the 10-yard line. How many yards, and where is the ball spotted?
10 yards. Spotted on the
Okay, so this is a tricky one. Team A is credited for 11 yards because the team is given the 11, because the ball is outside the 10-yard line, you're given the 10 yards for gaining. So you're given 11 yards. But you can't spot the ball on the 10-yard line because it's not 1st and goal, it's 1st and 10 just outside the 10-yard line. So for the purposes of respotting the ball, you're putting the ball 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Believe me, this is not a trick question. These are actual plays and scenarios at all levels. You probably do. But to be quite honest, maybe Sean, you can help me. How many times have you actually seen this? Maybe once every 2 years, 2-3 years. Yeah.
And then something that always happens is the referee will spot it not in the same spot, and then they'll move it to like half a yard back, and then it's on a new line sometimes.
Okay, so that's exception number 3. Okay, exception number 4. Okay, when the ball is between the 1-yard line and the goal line, we can't put it at the 0, right? So basically, the ball will be spotted at the 1-yard line. Okay, that's the 4 exceptions to spotting the ball. Okay, all right. Now that you have the fundamentals.
Exception number 3, that was goal-to-goal situation.
Just remember that you're
No.
going to take the stats in general, so that whatever you say is going to matter anyway. So it's all good.
Yeah. So question, Sean.
So this third exception is when it's to the 10-yard line specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
It only happens in this exact spot on the field. The ball is advanced to the 10 because of the purposes of the ball is spotted between the 10 and 11. So you credit the yards to the 10, but for the 1st and goal situation, it's not 1st and goal anymore. It's still 1st and 10, just outside the 10, which is now on the 11.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. That's exception.
Eventuality, you gain a first down on the half-yard line.
Yes, you can get a first down at the 1-yard line. At the 1. That's right.
It's got to be a full yard.
Yeah.
If not, they're going to take the sticks away. Then you'll know that it's 1st and goal.
Right. Exactly.
So if they leave the sticks there, it has to be 10. So you can credit the 11, but then it's still
Correct.
10.
Correct.
Which is weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I said.
In flag though, they're not gonna have sticks, so they're just gonna announce whether it's goal or.
I mean, in that case, it's going to be more. It's more the statistician's discretion, right?
Yeah,
Because
it will be
they're
the
not
statistician.
explicitly saying, like-
Because
Because the referee will.
Because they'll say
announce.
to, but they're going to say to
It'll
goal.
just be wherever they spot the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're going to say
Because
to
then
goal.
you're gonna know
Yeah.
that you got
Yeah,
this
yeah.
line to gain, or you gotta go to the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
referee will announce like you can get over
Yeah.
first down if you want or something. Yeah.
all right.
20, 40, 20. I mean, yeah.
Right. Okay, now we're going to take your papers and we're going to help fill them out. Okay. Now, there's all types of stat sheets out there. So the first sheet to kind of familiarize yourself is the play-by-play stat sheet. And that's very important because basically you're going to be writing everything you will be on this particular sheet of paper. This is everything that you're going to be transcribing from this piece of paper to your cumulative stat sheet. Okay, so let's go over the stat sheet itself. The first column is this number sign. This represents the number of the play number on that particular drive. So that you just go 1, 2, 3 all the way down. Now, if you're going to have situations where if you have a penalty and you repeat the down, then the number stays from that play. So if you have, let's say you have play number 2, you have a running play, but you have let's say a false start penalty, it will be play number 2 again, but it's 5 yards further behind. So that's the reason why you put that. You might have to number it again based on the play. The second number is down and distance, which we've talked about. First and 10. So first 1-10 is first and 10. The ball on is what yard line? Are we on the A side of the field, the B side of the field? If you're going to use the team name, let's say it's Iolani against Lahaina Luna, it's the I, could be the Iolani, or the L for the Lahaina Luna. You're going to use that. I've seen others where they use the minus side of the field, the plus side of the field. The minus side is your side of the field. The plus is the opponent's side of the field. So you can use whatever you want for that. And then the actual play itself. And then if we have a score or if you want to have a defensive play, you put that in this corner here. So it's just a running total of all the plays on this particular drive. And then if you have a new drive, you put the team name and the time on the clock, and then you just start it from there. Okay? So this is your main play-by-play worksheet. Now you're also going to have the football stat sheet, and this is broken up into all these different areas, which I will go into. Now, this is the really basic, fundamental football stat sheet. I mean, this has, 30 passes for the quarterback? And so, but I don't know if you've seen lately, teams throw more than 30 times, or sometimes in college, they throw definitely more than that. So there are other stat sheets. I use a more comprehensive stat sheet. This has all the bells and whistles because I use this to take University of Hawaii games. So this has team rushing. This has individual rushing. This has quarterback number 1, quarterback number 2, quarterback number 3, in case you switch quarterbacks. But for the most part, the previous sheet that you have there is good enough to start off with. I can always make available this stat sheet to Brian or to anybody who wants this sheet, but this has definitely more bells and whistles in it. Okay, it also tracks other things that that I'm not going to get into. Okay, so tips for taking play-by-play. Okay, in case the game speeds up, like no huddle offense or a lot of things that happen, taking it is always something where you can always fill your stat sheet later on with. So always use your play-by-play sheet. You can also take notes on a play. You can transfer numbers onto your stat sheet. It's helpful to recap key scoring or game-winning drives. If somebody were to ask you, say, hey, what happened on that drive? The play-by-play can help recap what happened on that particular play, drive, game, etc. Okay, so let's get started here in terms of how to take play-by-play. Okay, so first play. Let's start with Team A drives at 11 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock. You don't have to write this down. You can just follow it along, but if you want to take notes, that's fine. Okay, so it's now first and 10 from the Team A's 20-yard line. So this is how I would write first play, first and 10 on the Team A 20. You observe, okay, number 32, Alika, rushes to the A18. Okay, so I do R32, rush 32. Then you spot the ball. Your ball is on the A18. Okay, plus or minus, how many yards? A18 is what? Minus 2. Minus 2. Okay, so you now fill out, it's now play number 2, second and 12 on the A18, and then you now note on the play-by-play that it's a minus 2-yard play. Okay, So even if you get real busy, you can eventually put that on the stat sheet. But for the purposes of play-by-play, that's how you would write a single play. Okay? Next play. Number 5, Adam rushes to the A23. Okay? Rush number 5. We're now at the 23, so that's a gain of 5 yards. Okay, so now that makes it 3rd and 7 on the A23 plus 5. Okay? All right, next. Now we have a pass play. Quarterback 11, Allen passes to number 32, Alika, to the A35. Okay, so now we have a pass, 11 to 32. So now we're at the A35, so it's a gain of 12 yards. Gain of 12, 1st and 10, A35. So it continues on, et cetera, places like that. Question?
How do you fill out the stat sheet? You just keep doing the play-by-play as the game is going.
The good news is that because football has like a 20, 25-second period, you can, if you have the time, you could just transfer it on there.
For flag, it's really hard. I mean, frankly, that's why I think like the system, kind of like we have it. All it does is the basics. If you know spot, it can do all those things, and you can move on. I mean, we still write it down though, to be honest. But it's like we may not do, like the down and distance part. For me, I might just write like pass 5, pass 5-12 in the yards, and then R whatever. You know what I mean? Just like. I don't necessarily worry about the other parts per se. It's you're gonna just kind of see like how it works best for you. Like football, like he says, it's so much easier because you have a lot of time in general in between. But even when you have no huddle, like he knows as much as like when Leilahua runs up tempo or Mililani runs up tempo, it's annoying. Like it's really hard. But flag is like that. Every single down, every single play, even in between plays, you respot the ball and they go like soccer. So. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to like hone it to kind of really like distill what we need for play-by-play and just go with it. Another thing I might recommend too, like Kalani Takase, our reporter, he has like a color for one team and a color for the other team. So even if sometimes you forget to switch colors and you're screwed anyway. But it helps him to know like where you're, which team has possession. And for flag, it might really matter in some respects because it just moves really fast. I mean, you'll see. So, but this part is really helpful because you need it in case you get lost or if the computer slows down or whatever. But it's just a matter of finding a good balance. Because
Yeah. So just reviewing the exercise we just went through. The key here is spotting the ball. The action that take place, whether it's a run or a pass, who threw it, who caught it, and as we get advanced, who tackled it, and so just basically after that, that's basically all you really need. Spotting the ball, the action, who ran, who passed, spotting the ball. You don't have to all the rest, down and distance, the play numbers, that's great, but as Brian mentioned, those are the 2 key things you need to have: spotting the ball and the action that takes place. Now, there's going to be other things like penalties or fumbles and things like that. But again, the 2 main things: spotting the ball and what happened.
And then if you don't need to have live stats, like if you don't need to upload it or be reporting to someone live, then just save all your stats transfers for the end.
Yeah.
Because you don't need it right away.
Yeah, you can always catch up later on. You can always catch up. Okay.
Yeah, this sheet's what's going to really help you know the whole game.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about transferring the numbers onto the rushing side of the paper. Okay, so again, the fundamentals. So that big box there is the number and the name of the person. The top left corner of the box is the yards on that particular play, and the number at the bottom right corner is the cumulative yards for that person throughout the game. So you're just going to transfer the number from the play-by-play to this football stat sheet. So let's go back to that play-by-play. So number 32, Alika rushes for -2 yards, as we did on the previous one. So basically we went 32, Alika, -2 on the play, -2 total. So that's how you transfer the number as the play goes on. Second play, number 5, Adam rushes for 5 yards. So number 5, Adam, 5 yards, play, 5 yards total. Okay. Next, number 11, Alan rushes for 12 yards. So number 11, Alan, 12 yards, 12 total yards. Okay. Now we have a touchdown. Adam rushes for 6 yards and a touchdown. So in this case, we would go with Adam, 6 more yards. I put a star or designate something. You can use a highlighter. You can whatever you have. Designate that it was a touchdown run, and his cumulative for the game is 11 yards.
You might not put T. Like a lot of us will put like 6T, so that tells us a touchdown. And that's another way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, whichever way works.
Yeah. Highlighters, I've used different things. So the way to read it is that in the game, Adam has 2 rushes for 11 yards. So pretty straightforward. When you write down your post-game papers, that's how you transfer the totals to that. Okay. Any questions on that?
Second part is so that's Adam's running total, right?
That's correct. Cumulative total. So they have 5 in the first play, 5 in the game, 6 on this next play, 11 total. Any questions on that? Kind of in the weeds, I know. But hey, this.
I'm surprised you still do this manually, actually.
We can. I mean, yeah, but.
Oh, he does it. Well,
I do it because it's. Well, there's a story because when you're talking about these different things, we can talk about different aspects of the game. Sometimes it's better to write it down because, like for example, when I work with Kanoa Lehi, when I do UH, if let's say Adam rushes for 50 yards in the first quarter but 0 yards in the second quarter, I can use this running total and say like, oh, Kanoa, hey, Adam rushes for 50 yards in the first quarter but 0 in the second quarter. So you can only do that if you do a running total. Because if you do it on the computer, it's just going to give you the total, but not how the game goes along. So you're basically telling a story. So there is some benefit for doing it manually. So, and that's something maybe, if you're taking stats for your coach, that's something that, you can always share with your coaches. Yeah? Okay. Next, let's talk about the passing side. Okay? So, when it comes to passing, there's a certain order of how we show passing numbers. So, and it's the same way when we do it in journalism and things like that. So, for example, Garrett Gabriel, long time ago, UH. K5, stats is completion, attempts, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. 66 for 124, 891 yards, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Colt Brennan, they always use completions first, attempts, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. So there's a universal standard in terms of how stats are displayed both on television and in print. So you have to keep that in mind as you report the numbers to Brian or whomever you're reporting to. So in the same vein, it's set up so that it's set up in a situation where you can have it very similar. So we always start with the attempts from 1 all the way to 29 in this case. Completions, interceptions, who is the passer, who is the receiver, how many yards on the particular play, and then the running total throughout the game. Okay, so this is how you will fill out or transfer the numbers from the play-by-play onto the cumulative stats. Okay, so let's take an example here. First play, quarterback Adam passes complete to number 44, Abraham, for 6 yards. So basically, we're saying 1 completion. The quarterback is Adam. You can put 5 or Adam or whomever you want. The completion is to 44, Abraham, 6 yards. Okay. Next play, we have number 5, Adam, passes incomplete, intended for 32, Alika. Okay. So in this case, you would just indicate that it was an incompletion, so it's not a completion, so you put a dash. You put the number, the quarterback. Now you can put who it was intended for. You could put parentheses Alika if you wanted to. And it might be useful for coaches who may want to figure out, okay, how many times Alika didn't get the ball or dropped the ball or it was thrown to. Because that you see that stat a lot in the pros, how many times it was thrown to. You could do that. You could do parentheses Alika. But in this case, that's all you really necessarily need to fill out on an incomplete pass. Next, Adam passes complete to Allen for 67 yards and a touchdown. So in this case, it was his second completion. Number 5, Adam was the passer. Number 11, Allen was the receiver. The total was 67 yards. You could use a star. You can use a T, whatever you want to do. And his total for Adam is 73 yards. So how to read that for the game? So Adam has 2 for 3 passing for 73 yards and 1 touchdown. Okay, we're using that, again, that formula that I showed you in the beginning, where it's always completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. Okay, that's the standard in terms of how we would fill out the passing. Now, let's say we have a different quarterback. Let's say number 11, Allen, passes intercepted to the other team, number 29, at the B14, and returns to the B39. Okay, so again, all of these numbers, all of this description here is something that you need to be able to put that on your play-by-play. So in this case, you had a quarterback who threw the ball. You had the interception, so you have to identify who the interception is by, where did he intercept the ball, and where did he return to? Because that's all part of keeping stats. In this case, interceptions as well. And where did he finish to? Okay. So again, Allen passes intercepted by the other team, number 29, from the B14 to the B39. So in this case, for the stat sheet, in the passing, you're going to put a 1 next to the interception. You're going to put since it's a different quarterback, you're going to put number 11, Allen, to the interception by number 29, the other guys. And then for the passing, that's all you need to do. However, on another part of your stat sheet, there is the miscellaneous stats where the interceptions are. So that's part of the stat sheet that you need to input there. And in this case, you would put number 29 for 15 yards on that. But again, only if you have time, you put these numbers down. But the key thing is you make sure you have it on your play-by-play sheet.
So how does that look on the play-by-play sheet? That last one.
Okay, you could say on the play-by-play, you could have pass, 11, interception. So I use X as interception, and then I put 29, who made the interception. And then right next to 29, I put where did he return? So I would put B14-39, because that's where he ran from, the B14 to the B39, and then that's the end of the play.
And then there's holding upon the return.
Okay? So the play counts, right? Because the interception will hold in its place. So now, no, don't worry. Believe me, we're going to talk about penalties as well. So you might have partial yards on that play. So again, there's keys for that as well to look for. Okay? Remember what I told you at the start. Football is the hardest stat to do. Yes, Harley?
But for the purposes of what you do for reporting, at least to us, you're in a different animal altogether. But for us, all that matters is interception. It doesn't matter, unless it was returned for a touchdown, then it matters, right? But you need to know that. And a lot of times you're going to guess on that. Probably. He's from like the 432? Oh yeah, okay, something like 32. Because sometimes you don't know. I mean, honestly, like without TV replay, we have to guess like where did that interception happen and where did he run it back to? That's the reality. But yeah, in our case, it's interception that matters, and then just that he passed the ball, it was intercepted, so it's going to be an attempt and an interception, and the interception goes to a defensive player, and then that's your part of the job. If whether there's holding or whatever happened, it's not necessarily.
So when you work in a tag team, you have to talk through some things about, okay, who's going to spot it and what's the other person going to do. So for example, if we have an interception, whoever, let's say, is the computer operator or who's doing the writing down, you might indicate, okay, if there's an interception, the spotter will say, okay, interception by 29. The other person will then should instinctively know, okay, where was that interception? So you pick up where that begins, and then you write that down, and then you indicate where the end of the play is. So you have to work together as a team in terms of spotter, recorder, spotter, recorder. So again, it takes practice, and as Sean and I work in TV, we kind of, Sean identifies the player, I identify the spot on the field.
And that's where like your multiple person team for spotting comes in handy, because you have someone that they need to be watching like where do spots happen, right? Like where do they catch the ball, where it's intercepted, where was this, whatever, right? Because the other guy's trying to look for, you know, who made the tackle or whatever. So if you have the personnel, then yeah, I mean, it's better to have a designated person that, you know, they do the same thing.
I would say my advice is that the easiest thing is if you have a spotter recorder, the spotter identifies all the players and the recorder identifies all the spots on the field. So that it's consistent throughout the game. So for example, if Sean and I are doing a game and we see there's a rush and there is a fumble, okay? So he would say, rush number 5, fumble. Then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, where on the field did he fumbled it? Then Sean will pick up, okay, who caused the fumble? Who recovered the fumble? I would then write that down, and then it would indicate, okay, yard line. Where's the yard line? So is it a fumble? Is it a plus yardage? Is it a minus yards? And spot the field. So as long as we come up with an agreed upon how we spot the ball and who touched the ball, because whoever caused the fumble also gets a tackle. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then who gets the recovery, we'll put that in the fumble recovery. We'll talk about that too. So again, whoever touches the ball, we have to try and make sure we account for all of that. That's what the spotter really has to kind of focus in on. You're going to notice that after a game, you're going to not know what happened in the game because you're always concentrating on numbers and field numbers and stuff like that. You don't necessarily know how this game is going, because once you start cheering and getting excited, you're probably not going to be as effective taking stats. So again, you really kind of have to focus in on what's happening on that. Okay? Well, next, we'll talk about receivers. Pretty straightforward, similar to like rushing. The first number is the name and the player, and then similar to rushing, it's the total number in the current play and the total number in the game. So first play, we have Adam throwing to Abraham for 6 yards. So we have Abraham there. We put 6 yards for the play, 6 yards total. Second play, we have Alika catching a... okay, so Adams passes incomplete, intended for Alika. Do we do anything on the receiving? No, because there was no reception, right? So we don't put anything on that play. Third play, Adam passes to Allen for 67 yards and a touchdown. So on that play, we have 67 yards. I put a star or a T or whatever you want to use. Total is 67 yards. Okay?
What if we want to log Alika's incomplete?
Yeah.
Good question, because what a lot of teams do is they want to know who the ball was thrown to. Remember, I saw that in the passing. So in this case, if there is, in this case, we have incomplete pass intended for Alika. You could put Alika, number 32 here, but I would put maybe a little tick mark underneath there. Say like the times that he's been thrown to. Because you'll be surprised. Sometimes if you find that a quarterback throws to a certain player a lot of times and didn't catch it, that's a good stat. Like he's been thrown to maybe 5 incompletions, but he only has 1 catch. That's a good stat to know if you're a coach, because that might be saying something, you know? That's a good question.
So if Allen or Abraham get a
The next one to the right. Yeah.
So if 32 Alika, it would be 0 and 0.
Yeah, you wouldn't have anything here because he didn't catch anything.
An attempt, so you could go 0 and 0. I mean, like no reception.
No, but this would only mean if they caught the ball. This would only mean if they caught the ball.
Well, I'm just thinking about if you want to record how many times it got thrown.
Oh yeah, so I would say put a tick mark right underneath him. You just put a tick mark right underneath Allen. That would show you the number of times he was thrown to but did not catch a ball.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because then you don't want to mix those two categories up. So again, these are stats that you can kind of keep working on because, I tell you what, in college, we even go to the point where it's like the ball was overthrown to this person. It was underthrown to this person. Did he drop the ball? All of these different categories of what type of interception, it's recorded. Just like in the pros, you can see all the different stats. You could go crazy, as you move up to the higher levels. That can be done.
I think that's a good one for coaches a lot of time is the drop one.
Yeah.
So like instead of a tick mark, put D, so that you can keep track of drops as well. Because even when we're doing our stat crew one, I don't know if it's on yours, but there's no place to put drop passes. I don't know about Presto. Yeah.
I only use Presto for baseball and softball.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they have a drop statistic, so it might be have to keep it on your own anyways. But sometimes coaches want to see that anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on receiving? Okay, we'll briefly touch upon the other categories in here. Not super important, but some of them are a little bit more important that I'll talk about later on. Penalties, we'll talk extensively about penalties. For that, it's similar to like yards. Where is that penalty? It's up on the top right corner. Total yards on that penalty and the cumulative in the game. It's broken down. Now each sheet you have is for separate teams. Okay, so don't use one team, both teams on one piece of paper. So you have one team, visiting team, home team. So this is for one team. Penalties in the first half, penalties in the second half. Now why don't you just put all the entire? Sometimes it's more important to kind of figure out. Okay, Team A has had 10 penalties in the first half, 2 penalties in the second half. Interesting stats you might want to break down. And believe me, in high school, you could have as much as, I've seen 20-something penalties. So you may not think that's enough space, but you can see it's enough space to have at least, 16 or 18 penalties in a particular game. First downs, I talked about first downs. We have rushing, passing, and penalties. Not as super important, but it's there nevertheless if you want to keep track of. If you have fumbles, you might have a game where you have a lot of fumbles. Mark the number. If you have a fumble, indicate the number. And if it's lost, you can circle it, how many fumbles and fumbles lost. I think that's a stat, right, that you have on your. Yeah. He has a stat on ScoringLive, fumbles and fumbles lost. Okay. Also, if you have kickoff returns, they're on the lower left corner. Who returned it for how many yards? You have interception returns, you have punt returns, and then you have fumble recoveries. Fumble recoveries and sacks, they're on a different sheet, the defensive sheet, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay? But again, these are the miscellaneous stats, the other stats that are nice to have, maybe not as necessary to have. Okay? But again, as I mentioned several times, mark the spot of the ball, identify the player, and note any secondary actions, okay? If there's a lateral, fumble, interception, whatever. So again, fundamentals, spot the ball, identify the players that touch the ball. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, the other important stat sheet to have is the game summary. And I think this is something that the real big thing that I think tells the story of how the game goes. And so this is something that Brian would like you and everybody to fill out this as complete as possible. So just basically fill out the information, the home team, the visiting team, who submitted it, your contact information, score by quarters, top right corner. Important, score by quarters. Normally you would have the visiting team here and the home team here, I would advise Brian that you change this to visiting team and home team, but he puts the home and visitors. But visiting team is always on the top, home team is on the bottom. And then you fill out these items in a certain format. Okay? So I took the last year's state championship Division I Open game, and I filled it out on this form. And so we're going to go over what exactly you fill out. So this is what a completed form looks like. So this is the beginning. And so this is how the game ultimately ended up with. Okay? So we start off with the first score of the game. So who was the team? It was Campbell. What was the time on the clock when they scored? And what part of the game was it? In this case, it was the second quarter. Okay? So then, Brian's sheet has please use player names and numbers. So what we do is when on a passing touchdown, we start off with the receiver. So in this case, it was number 7, Bryson Sassano. He caught a 22-yard pass from the quarterback. So again, on passing, it's receiving first, yards, and the quarterback. Okay? So receiver, 22-yard pass from number 4, Braden Medeiros. Okay? So that's the touchdown. Next, we do the extra point. So in this case, we had a kick. So we had number 42, Michael Lifto, kick, meaning that the kick was successful, and that's what, so the score is now 7-0. If the kick failed, kick blocked, it would say number 42, Mitch Lifto, kick failed, kick blocked. We put that, we indicate that. In this case, Mitch Lifto kick is assumed good, so that's why the score is 7-0. Any questions on that?
Right there on the fourth line as the block.
Okay, agree. So the fourth line here, it says Campbell. Now in this case, this was a run. Number 0, Taino Alave, 5-yard run. And then the extra point, 42, Lifto kick blocked. So you can see here, because it was 10-7, this was 6 points. So you add 6 points to the home team. That's why the score is adjusted to 13. So this is a running total of the game. Okay.
Hold fumble, or missed or whatever.
Oh.
Okay.
So for misses, at least for us, we only, even though Harley doesn't like it, we only credit success, not failure. So if it's a kick block or a kick or like a PAT failed, we don't say who did it. It can just be like kick blocked or kick failed.
But
we only reward success. Okay, that's how it goes.
well, but for the purposes of recording it for your information, because let's say 42 kick block. Yeah, for blocked, you should note that just for your own purposes that it was blocked.
You were saying about the holder.
So let's say it was an aborted extra point. Let's say it's a bad snap, because the kicker never had the opportunity to kick. It's not credited toward the kicker. So basically, did it try to run, or did he try to pass it? So so if we have a 2-point conversion, let's say it's conversion that it's good. It's receiver pass from quarterback. In the parentheses, correct.
It was a pass from a guy to somebody. But if like the guy that botched the snap ran it in, then it would be that guy.
Run.
But if he didn't, then we don't credit.
But you know what? That's good information to have. It's good information for you to have. So the format for the 2-point conversion is the same thing in the parentheses as it is for the touchdown. So receiver, there's no yards. Receiver pass from quarterback.
So in flag, you have the opportunity to score 1 point.
Correct.
Or 2 points.
Correct.
So how would you put that for the extra point?
It would be reflected on the total.
Yeah.
It would be either be 7th point or 8th point.
Yeah.
So that'll indicate
so we
where.
don't go like 2-point try pass good. It would be more like it's still like run by that girl. No, that girl run is good, right? And then the score would tell us whether that was a 2-point or a 1-point.
Right.
And it's something Tommy just said was important. You don't give those yards on the extra.
Yeah, it's not now. So now extra points, or stuff like that is not reflected in your individual stat sheet. So that, again,
there's no completion, and there's no yardage gain.
And no interception.
And no defensive
fumble
plays.
recovery, no nothing, no tackle, nothing.
yeah. Because it's a special teams play, it does not count towards the offensive stats. Okay?
So for flag, when you write, you run in or you write the.
Yeah, the only two is like that person
Runs,
or that person
pass.
to whatever,
Receiver
right?
from passer.
Yeah,
And then this is what you want after everything.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like the scoring plays of the game is part of like the
Double pass.
That's a good question for him.
Okay, so explain the situation then.
Quarterback, extra point on regular play.
Right,
Throws to receiver.
correct.
Receiver throws to
Right.
someone else.
Right.
Reception.
Right. So because it's a lateral, it's not a pass, it's a lateral, backwards lateral pass, that's not recorded in the situation.
And then you just say so-and-so
Passes, correct. Because let's say there's a lateral and that guy runs, the quarterback has almost nothing to do with the play. It's basically the same as a run. So that's kind of how it's, even in a regular offensive play.
Okay, one other question.
Sure, sure.
So running backs that come behind,
Uh-huh.
and you toss them the ball, it's
Right.
counted as a pass.
No. If it's,
Counted as a pass.
okay, if it pass, you count it as a pass if it's one of two things. Either it's a forward pass, a shovel pass, or sometimes if the ball is placed up in the air, straight up, and somebody comes in on like on the fly sweep, that is considered a pass. So again, forward pass, shovel pass, or pass that's up in the air, because it's not a backwards pass, it's straight up in the air and it's captured on the fly, that's a forward pass.
Sometimes called like a pop pass.
Quarterback runs,
Mm-hmm.
gains about 10 yards, and then pitches.
Okay.
Running back. How
Okay.
to split up the yards. Whoever the
Okay.
running back-
There are plays that we're going to talk about that because there is run option pass versus lateral passes. So there's a difference because if you're in the option and you pitch, one player gets all of the yards. In this case, it's the pitch man gets the yards. Only in the option. If you have just a quarterback that just runs like crazy, and then laterals for the second person, then you split it up. And I have that in a slide. But yeah, but again, the key is it a run option play or not? If it's a run option play, then it goes to only one person. Okay. Any questions on the stat sheet? Okay. Note the quarter by quarter. So at the end of each quarter, you should always update how many points that were scored in each quarter, because that's important. But a good way to double check that is because you have the time and when they scored, that should help you indicate how many points were scored in each quarter. Okay? Notes. Brian, what kind of notes you would like to see if you need to
Thank you, Brian. I don't know. I mean, one thing I do want to say though for this is it doesn't happen for you guys, but like when we don't have people who get trained, they'll like put like the running total in each of the 4 boxes when it should just be what's contained within that quarter, right? And I think that sort of is more like people that don't really know. It happens in basketball too. They'll put like 12, 12, and then it'll be like 18, 19, and it's actually like the running total. So the ending final score ends up being like 164 to, which only happens in the NBA. But I mean, yeah, that's sort of like wiling. It's just good to know like how we determine the things.
Probably your notes is like game ended due to
Yeah, it could be, you know, like it was 4 overtimes, and you know, it's just kind of like stuff that helps us more for,
or like
you know,
delayed due to lightning. Or,
yeah, or
you know,
there's,
For a day.
yeah.
you know, whatever. But all these things, just so you know, for if you use our scoring system, or even which I'll talk about later, our app that we have, you can actually input these scoring plays using a system that does all the logic part for you. So all you're gonna do is like pass A to B, and then the point after is good by this number, and it builds the scoring play for you. So anyway, that's something to talk about later.
All right. Now let's move on to penalties. This is the big bugaboo that a lot of people get all confused about, okay? So, fundamental about penalties, okay? If there's a penalty, the team that was the opposing team now has a choice of whether to accept the penalty or decline it. Okay? If the penalty is declined, you don't have to fill out the form or add any yards or anything like that. But if a penalty is accepted and yards are marked, that's when you need to fill out the total. Okay? So statisticians should note the yards the official marches from one spot to the other. Most times it's 5, 10, 15, or sometimes half the distance to the goal. We'll talk a little bit about that. But there are times when the official does not march a nice 5, 10, or 15. Sometimes he spots it off a little bit. Like, for example, let's say A's ball on the A's 20 and a false start penalty on A. The ball is supposed to go 5 yards back, but he marched it off to the 16-yard line. Okay? So you don't mark it. It's not a 5-yard penalty, but because the ball is now on the 16, it's a 4-yard penalty. Okay? So just mark the actual number of yards that the official moves it to. Okay?
And then Stacy goes like, 11.
Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned, the types of penalty yards that can range from 0 yards, because if you have a 0-yard penalty, what could a 0-yard penalty be? Penalty on the 1-yard line, offsides against the defense. The official takes the ball, flips it up in the air, puts the ball right back on the same spot. That's a 1 penalty, but for 0 yards. You can have a 5-yard penalty, a 10-yard penalty, 15-yard penalty. There's a spot foul penalty, which is penalty at the end of the run, or penalty from a certain spot of where the flag is at, and then it's a penalty from that spot, back, front 10 or 15 yards. And then there's half the distance to the goal. What is half the distance to the goal? That means, let's say if it's a 10-yard penalty, but the ball is on the other team's 10-yard line, you can't give them a 10-yard penalty. You penalize them half the distance to the goal. So in this case, it's a 5-yard penalty. So that's what a half the distance to the goal is. Okay, have I lost you yet? Okay.
So, okay, if it's the 9, what are you putting? Because you can't put 4.5.
Correct. So wherever the ball is located. So it's supposed to be at the 4.5, which means if the ball is at the 4.5, it's between the 4 and the 5-yard line. So it's probably 4 yards. So it's from 9 to the 4. So statistically, it's 5. Okay. We have 3 types of penalties: previous spot penalties, spot fouls, and dead ball foul penalties. Not super important, but again, something for your information. Previous spot is the officials will march off the penalty from the previous spot and repeat the down. That's the key, repeat the down. Okay? Spot fouls, as I mentioned, if the spot of the foul is enforced from beyond the line of scrimmage, we're going to credit the partial yards on the play and record the penalty yards. Sometimes if the penalty is behind the line of scrimmage, we don't count minus yards on that play. It will be counted as all penalty, and we'll go over situations like that. Thank goodness I'm going to provide the PDF of this so that so you guys can always go through it. Yeah, right. Okay, situation number 1. Team A's ball on the B 40-yard line. Okay, Alika rushes from the 17 yards to the 23. So from the B40 to the 23. A clipping penalty is called against Team A. The flag is down on the Team B's 31-yard line. So the enforcement spot is from the 31-yard line, and Team A is penalized 15 yards from Team B's 46-yard line. Okay? So the enforcement is credit Alika with a rush of 9 yards and charge Team A with a penalty of 15 yards. Okay? So we start the down with 1st and 16. So let's break this all down, okay? So again, Team B goes from the 40 to the 23. So we would normally give them 17 yards, okay? But since the flag was thrown at the 31-yard line, credit Team B with from the 40 to the 31. So that's where we got the 9 yards, okay? Because the penalty marches the ball from the 31 back to the 46. So that's the 15-yard penalty, okay? So one of the things you need to kind of keep an eye on as a spotter is that if you have a flag down on the field and the official grabs the ball and starts to march from the spot of the flag, that's where you need to kind of pick up on that. And that's where we can get the key when we talk about the 31 from the team B's 31-yard line and march back 15 yards. So you need to watch the official who has the ball that's going to march off the penalty. In this case, that person marches it back from the 31-yard line to the 46. So that's where we get the 15-yard penalty. So now since the ball is at the 46-yard line and we started the down on the 40, we're a loss of six yards. So since we're repeating the down, it is 1st and 16, play one again from the 46-yard line. Any questions on that? Tried to break that down as simple as I could. Alika, yeah. A, just think of Alika is A. That's why you're going to notice Team A is on offense, Team B is on defense. Okay, any questions? Next situation. A's ball on the Team A's, their own side of the field, 40-yard line. Adam rushes for 5 yards to the 45. A chop block penalty is called against Team A on Team A's 34-yard line. The enforcement spot is the 34-yard line, and Team A is penalized 15 yards back to Team A's 19-yard line. Okay? So the enforcement is, do not credit Adams with a rush. Team A is charged with a penalty of 21 yards. So let's break this down again. So again, we start on the 40-yard line. Team A rushes to the 45, but the penalty flag is on Team A's 34-yard line. So it's behind the line of scrimmage. So we're not going to give negative yards to the player because the penalty was behind you. Okay? So they marched it off 15 yards from the 34 to the 19. So in this case, it'll be all penalty. So we go from the 40-yard line all the way back to the 19-yard line. So we lose 21 yards. So it will be first down and first and 31. It will be 1st and 31 from the 19-yard line. Everybody got that? I know you will.
Spot foul, you credit if it's beyond the line of scrimmage. You credit the runner pass, whatever.
Plus yards, yes, plus yards, correct.
But if the foul occurs behind the line of scrimmage, then there's no stat.
Correct.
No rush, no pass.
It'll be all penalty. It's all penalty. Okay. The ball will be on the 19-yard line. Because we lost 21 on that play, it's now 1st and 29-yard line. 21. So it's 1st and 31 from the 19-yard line. Because you still have to get to the 50-yard line because you started at the 40. The line to gain is the 50. So it's 1st and 31 from the 19-yard line. Okay? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a play so that you can actually visualize what to expect. So again, so it's now 1st and 10, and where's the ball spotted? B45. Okay, we're on the opposite side. We're on the B side of the field on the 45. The ball's touching the hash mark. So again, 1st and 10 at the B45. So again, we're going to have a penalty on this play. So you're going to have to kind of keep an eye on, because it's a TV game, we're not going to be able to see the whole field. But then as spotters, you should be able to identify where the flag was thrown. But it'll pick that up.
Clark City with a much smaller line than that front four. Man in motion is Baggett. Baggett gets the handoff. Baggett trying to turn to the outside. He's at the 30, 25, 20, and will be...
Okay, did you see where the referee threw the flag? Okay. You guys didn't see that, but that's fine. We'll show that again. Watch, okay, watch this official up here. Okay? He's gonna throw a flag.
Much smaller line than that front four. Man in motion is Baggett. Baggett gets the handoff. Baggett trying to turn to the outside. He's at the 30, 25, 20, and will be finally down at around the 12-yard line. Tursic chasing him down, number 75, the big tackle. And he got some help from the secondary there. But another big game, but they'll bring it back. There's a flag back at the 40-yard line.
There is a flag.
It looks like a block in the back will be called. So that one is erased. But a good run by
Okay, so again, let's keep in mind, okay, where's the flag? Where is the official that's going to grab the ball and is going to enforce the enforced spot?
Officials now conferring.
Started at the 45.
Carry, obviously they'll take
Right, 1st and 10 at the 45 we started.
5:20 to go in this first quarter. Marylanders from Garden City's Warren King High School. Trojans leading 3-0 on a 20-yard field goal by Gerard Smith. And driving now, so
So the official takes the ball from the 40, so the penalty is enforcement spot from the 40, and it goes to the 50.
9-yard line. Their own 49.
Okay? Okay, so how do we stat that play? Well, first of all, did anybody spot the ball carrier? Okay? 11 was the one that ran? Okay, good, because that's what you need to do. As if you're spotting, you're not watching the game, you're watching players run with the ball. So again, as spotter, you need to train yourself. Who ran the ball? And if you're advanced, who made the tackle? So again, we can watch this play again, but watch it from a different perspective. Imagine if you're the spotter and you're trying to identify players. So in this case, watch for
Garden City with a much smaller line.
who ran the ball, who made the tackle.
Man in motion is Baggett. Baggett gets the handoff. Baggett trying to turn to the outside. He's at the 30, 25, 20. And will be finally down at around the 12-yard line.
See? Excellent. See, so now you're training your mind watching the play.
The foul's on 14.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. But, you know,
And you do.
okay. So again, so the way we stat the play, it's a 5-yard run from the 45 to the 40. Penalty takes it 10 yards back. So we repeat the down. It's first down again, but it's 1st and 15 from the 50-yard line. Okay? Yes. Because you're accounting for all of the yards on that play. Because we had a 10-yard penalty, why are we behind 5 yards? So you're accounting for that play.
So it doesn't matter when he was tackled.
No.
Yes.
No, at that point.
At that point, yes.
And then on,
Unless there's a pass.
on the scoring live end, they don't care who caused the penalty, but on your guys' end, they don't want to know who caused the penalty. For your guys' end.
Wait, so there's no tackle stat for that? Is there a tackle stat for that?
Yeah, because the tackle had nothing to do with the actual play. Yeah, the play is technically dead from the penalty from the penalty spot. Right. Okay, so we also have dead ball foul situations. So for example, here's another play. Adams rushes for 17 yards from the 40 to the 23. Then a dead ball personal foul penalty is called against Team B. The enforcement spot is at the end of the run, 23, and then the ball is moved half the distance to the goal between the 11 and the 12-yard line. Okay? So we stat the play with rush of 17 yards, right, from the 40 to the 23, and a first down. You credit Team B with a penalty of 12 yards because the ball is now spotted on the 11-yard line. So from the 23 to the 12-yard line, the ball's on the 11-yard line. So it would be another, and you give them another first down. Again, small, tiny thing. So you resume play, 1st and 10 on the B's 11-yard line. Everybody think that through? So in other words, dead ball foul is 2 separate plays, but you would still enforce it on the same action.
And in the first down line, you get 2.
Yes, you get 2 first downs because it's first down by rush and first down by penalty. Okay, next dead ball. Adams rushes for 35 yards from the 10 to the 45. Then a dead ball personal foul is called against his team. Team A. The enforcement spot is from the 45, and the ball is moved to Team A's 30. So, because he rushed from the 10 to the 45, you give him a rush of 35 yards and a first down by rush, because he did achieve the line to gain. Charge Team A with a penalty of 15 yards back to the 30-yard line, and it's 1st and 10 from the 30.
Is this only for dead ball fouls?
For a dead ball foul.
Rushing, all that rushing, okay.
Yes, correct. Because it's the end of the play. Dead ball means it took place after the play is over. That's it. And you'll notice when the official signals dead ball, he'll signal, this is the hand signal for dead ball, personal foul, and things like that. So over time, you will start to identify the different signals that the officials make. That will help you, because for those of you doing computer stats, you need to indicate the type of penalty you're going to indicate. Again, not important for us manual stat keeping, but for computer, it is.
But the spot fouls you may get rushing or player stats that'll count. It just depends where they, because they're spotting it there. Right? Unless it's behind the line, then they won't. But if it's ahead, then the player gets credited. And then,
We're at a point where we can take a break. You can go bathroom, or what do you folks want to do?
Take a little break.
Yep, couple minutes. Just a couple minutes. We'll resume in about 5 minutes.
The ball is wherever it's spotted, that's where you know if it's gonna get marked up or anything.
But the good thing is you get to watch us, right? You gonna come, right?
Yeah.
Good. You can come.
What do you guys, what do you do when there's no football?
give them the pass.
What do we do when there's no football? We have volleyball. We do.
No, I mean like during flag football.
What do we do during flag? Oh yeah, we do. We actually, Sean and I, me and John Sheena, we do Monalose flag football as well.
I think she was thinking of hiring me.
Yeah, I know.
That's what was kind of.
But keep in mind now, during spring, we also do baseball, we do softball, we do a lot. But you know what? I guarantee you, because you're going to be with us, you're going to hear all of the different things that Sean and John and myself, since we're going to be together the first couple of games, you're just going to absorb all of the things. You can actually, they will be, because on our headsets, they're going to be, you going?
Yeah, I have to go to a grad party.
That's okay. Good to see you. Good to see you.
When's your first TV game?
This coming Saturday.
Oh, really?
No, Friday. We go to Waipahu, and then we go to Kahuku.
Oh,
St. Louis Kahuku.
oh no, that's gonna
Big
be
one.
great. No, I'll watch it.
So what we do is I'm doing computer. Sean and John, one will do spotting on the board for Felipe, and the other person will be doing the commands for me on for the computer. Oh, good to see you, man. Thanks you. So basically, what you're going to be doing is, what you're going to be listening is, you're going to be listening for all of the things that are, you're going to hear what the spotter is saying, and then I'm basically going to be inputting the information into the computer. So it's going to be so sooner or later, you're going to learn a little bit more about, how to spot. If you want to bring your binoculars, you can help, because I'm not saying you're going to help us, but you can help yourself in terms of identifying players so that you can kind of figure out.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're going to also talk about defense, because there's going to be a subtle difference in terms of solo tackle versus assisted tackle versus fumbles caused, fumble recovery. So you can actually see it when it takes place. So all of these things you can kind of, and over time, because you're with us with a number of games, so that's good. You can kind of get used to that.
Yeah, it's higher, better elevation, but you can pretty
You'll be fine.
Okay.
Just absorb, ask questions and stuff like that.
What do you guys use stat crew for?
We use Stat Crew for football, because the rest you gotta either.
Well, just kind of stand on the
Presto, because it's funny. How much you pay for the Presto?
So our conference has like a package. We're only using it for baseball, softball. It's 500.
No, we can kind of
What about for flag?
tutor they can
I
even
haven't gotten
stand
there yet.
line of scrimmages. So
I was gonna see if the NCAA came out with live stats for flag.
Good question.
What do you see for that?
Are you required to go live?
My boss probably would want it. Yeah.
But if the conference doesn't support it,
Yeah.
How that's going to be tough, right?
It's gonna be something I'm gonna have to figure out. Presto goes live though.
But doesn't Presto have flag? No.
I don't think so.
Oh, interesting.
Let's see what Presto looks like.
It looks like Stat Crew.
It looks like Stat Crew, but, and get a load of this, I tried to ask them, okay, if I were to do Presto, it would cost, for team, it's $650 for team. But because I don't belong with one team, I just do home and visitors, they quoted me a tournament price for $2,700 for one sport.
I'm good, thank you.
Football. Crazy,
Why
huh?
don't you just use NCAA Live Stats?
Because that's the one you can't you can only do a sample game, right?
But you still get the same XML files afterwards. Like you just gotta put every single roster in. That's the only like headache about it.
Wait a minute, so, but is that the Genius?
Yeah.
But Genius,
You don't need a license for it either.
but you can only do a single game, or is it a sample game, or?
You can download it and then you just have to input like the rosters beforehand. But it's not a single game. Like you can do multiple games. You just have to input like each one is manually. Like you gotta put the full name and everything in. So it's
Yeah. But that's kind of what we do for Stat Crew anyway,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the way, Tommy. My system does it all for you.
Yeah. I gotta possibly look into that too.
It's free.
Well, I've never done the paper before.
Well,
That's why it's good.
the Stat Crew I use is years old,
I know, and they don't support it.
and they don't support it anymore. But it can be done though, Stat Crew. But Brian's working on that. All right, ready? Let's
Go for it.
continue. Okay, we're going to talk about defense. I'm not sure if this is going to be, this may not be, I think the main thing, I'm going to go over defense, but again, this is not the most important, but I want you to be aware of defense because I think defense will help you get better in terms of, because especially when you have a team that's really strong on defense, it might tell the story of the game. So as we watch more video down the road, we're going to help you to identify what happens on a particular play. I know for HPU, I think you're going to have to do some element of defense, so you're going to have to kind of get used to that. But let's go over the definitions of the defense. So this defensive stat sheet is provided by Brian, and it has all of these categories. So the categories are, the player number, which is the first column, followed by the number of tackles. Then TFL means tackle for loss, sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles, fumbles recovery, pass defense or pass deflected or passes broken up, all means the same. And then hurries. We'll go over the definition for each one. I'm going to break up tackles into two different types of tackles, but in terms of these sheets, you can figure out how you want to do. I don't know, is there a preferred method of just tick marks or just?
I mean, what happens with this is you use it as a tally, basically, and then you can basically compile that, and that's what they send us. But it's a way where you, during the course of the game, you can use it as a more efficient way to tally that one for each side of your team and the other team. Some people, some schools will just do defensive stats for their own. You guys don't have that option, but you take defensive stats on your own, and then they can submit the stats, right? So that's sometimes just like a single, like another stat person. It's like, hey, all they do is go and record the tackles and whatever. Some of these happen within the course of a game, right? Like within regular stats people, they'll be aware of the sacks and the interceptions because those happen in the course of taking regular statistics. But like tackles or assisted tackles or pass defense, hurries, those things may not be part of what they're statting. So yeah, it's more of a tally system that you could then transpose into something that can be sent over to us. Or some people will send that to us here, but we have the rosters, right? So it's easy enough for us to do. So yeah, that's kind of what it is for.
So keep in mind now, this is part of your play-by-play sheet. That last column that says time, that's where you put your defensive stat. So if you have a tackle, if you have a sack, or you have an interception, or anything extra, you can put that in your last column on the right that says time, and that's eventually you'll transfer that onto this tally sheet. So we're going to go over the individual definitions of the defense. First, we'll talk about tackles. Now, there are two types of tackles. Of course, Brian won't necessarily, have an opinion about this, but in the higher levels and up, there are two types. There's solo tackles, and the definition is that if the ball carrier is stopped solely or primarily because of one player, you give them a solo tackle. Even though you might have a situation where you have a person that stops them initially, and then you have a second one that finishes them off. In a situation like that, you're going to give a solo tackle. You don't give two tackles in this case. The second one is assisted tackles. That's if two defensive players contribute equally to stopping the ball carrier, then you're going to credit both players with an assisted an assisted tackle, but give neither a solo tackle. Okay? So on every play, you can either give a solo tackle or you can give two assisted tackles. Very rarely you're going to have more than two assisted tackles. Okay? Next, tackles for loss. That's if that solo or assisted tackles and you ended up being behind the line of scrimmage where it's a loss of yards, you will also credit a tackle for loss. What you do for tackle for loss is instead of putting a tick mark on the tackle for loss, you put the number of yards that was lost on that play. So for example, if the ball was on the 20-yard line and you had a solo tackle by player number 1 and it's to the 18-yard line, so that's a -2. So you're going to give that person the solo tackle as well as 2 yards for tackle for loss. So under the tackle for loss, you put the number 2, that you know that person had a 2-yard tackle for loss. Okay? Now, what's tricky is that if you have an assisted tackle, 2 tackles in there, if you have like a 2-yard loss, you don't give two guys credit for 2 yards for tackle for loss, because basically the total yards lost was 2 yards. So basically you're splitting it 1 yard for each of the 2 assisted tackles. Again, in the weeds, but that's what you do for tackle for loss. The computer will do it for you. Okay, next is a sack. Sack is treated the same way. It's either a solo or an assisted tackle. But again, this is for a quarterback who is attempting to throw a pass. So basically, you as the statistician need to determine, is the quarterback attempting to throw a pass? Now, you're going to have a situation where, and especially you have quarterbacks these days that do these run-pass options. So basically, you're not sure if the quarterback is going to be running or is going to be throwing a pass. But if you feel that the quarterback is definitely attempting a pass and the person gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage, that person gets credited for a sack. Does that make sense? Same thing how you treat tackle for loss. If you get credited for a sack, you figure out the number of yards that person is credited with. It's also rushing yards as well. It's a rushing negative yards for the quarterback on that sack. So it's a rush yards for minus, as well as defensively a sack, whether it's a solo or assisted, and then the column that has sack, you put the number of yards lost. Thank goodness you have this PowerPoint to go over later on. Okay, interceptions. If we have an interception, you credit the defensive player with the interception as well as the number of yards returned. So I think we talked a little bit earlier about, let's say, number 29 got the interception, returned it for 15 yards. So again, make sure the spotter recognizes who the interceptor is, where did they intercept the ball from, where does the play end, and that's how you figure out, okay, interception by number 29 from the 14 to the 29, it's a 15-yard interception return. Okay, only one interception can be recorded on a play, but the total yards accumulated for that person. Quite frankly, you're going to have a lot of times where you're going to have a guy grabs the interception and falls right down there on the ground immediately, it's 0 yards on the interception. You credit interception, but for 0 yards on the play. Even though he's kind of rolling around a little bit, it's not really an interception return unless there's actually yards that he's returning it. Okay? Next, forced fumble. Forced fumble is a complicated play, but yet it's important because it triggers a couple of different things. But forced fumble basically means the person who you focus on, the defensive player who creates a fumble by either the running back or the quarterback or the receiver that has the ball now, and a fumble is created. You credit that defensive player with a forced fumble. Okay. Now, how do you also, when you also credit that, you also credit a tackle on that particular play, because if the forced fumble is caused, that person gets a forced fumble as well as a tackle. It's automatically recorded in the computer. Okay. If you have a situation where a quarterback goes out back to pass, and then the defensive player forces a fumble, he gets a forced fumble, he gets a quarterback sack as well, because he is the one that made the initial play on that. Okay. Next, fumble recovery. So if we have a fumble recovery, we have a forced fumble, or if we have any kind of if let's say the quarterback just drops the ball, it's a fumble, we have to have a fumble recovery. Now, because we're doing defensive stats, we're only recording defensive fumble recovery. So if the offense recovers a fumble on that play, we don't record that at all, because this is defensive stats. Okay, so fumble recoveries are only defensive stats. That's recorded here as well. Okay. Next, passes deflected or broken up. If the pass falls incomplete because of the defensive effort of a player, that person should be credited with the pass breakup. Now here is the criteria on pass breakup. If the defensive player makes contact with the football, thus preventing the intended receiver from making the catch, credit pass breakup. Or a defensive player tackles the intended receiver simultaneously with the arrival of the football, you record a pass breakup. Okay. Now, if the defensive player neither touches the football nor tackles the receiver simultaneously, you don't get a pass breakup. So basically, it's the defensive player creating the pass not to be caught, basically. Because of him. Okay. Next is hurry. It's a relatively new stat in high school, college. Pros has been around for a little while, but we credit a defensive player with a hurry when they force the quarterback to throw the football earlier than intended or chase them out of the pocket. So, for high school and NCAA, to be credited with a hurry, the result of the play must be an incompletion or an interception. I did not know the interception one. But for the pros, a hurry can be credited on any pass rush rather than the outcome of the play. So that's kind of the key change or the difference. But for high school and college, incomplete or an interception, you can credit a hurry. So if it alters the play, if there is no late tackle, or if it's an untouched pressure, you can, under these circumstances, create a hurry. So actually, I learned something on this particular situation. And in fact, yes, you can get a hurry on an interception, which I didn't read that until I did some research on that. So we can do that in this case.
So even if they come out of the pocket, but the pass is complete, it's not a hurry.
It is not a hurry, correct? Because when a person, defense player gets credited for a hurry, that means they created a situation where it became an incompletion. So that's what the definition of that hurry means in this case. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the principles of rushing, where, we talked about, the principles of a positive rush or minus rush. So now we're going to talk about specific situations. We're going to test you on this. If a quarterback drops back to pass and is sacked, is it a rushing play or a passing play? Rush. Everybody agree? Good. Rush. Okay. So pass attempt by Adam. He's sacked from the 32 to the 27. It is a minus 5-yard rush. Or let's say he takes off and runs from the 32 to the 49. It's a rush. Okay. So again, we've established whether he's passing back, and if it's behind the line of scrimmage, it's a sack. If you determine that he was going to try and pass. But if he takes off and runs, it's a positive rushing play. Okay? On a run option play, involves a pitch to the trailing back. We're going to credit the trailing back with the rush attempt and total yards gained or lost on the play. So the player who pitches, typically the quarterback, is not credited with the rush attempt or the yards. Okay? Let's look at this play and see, and this explains what this means. We're at the 12-yard line. Pitches. Out of bounds. Ball is at looks like the 7-yard line. So who gets what? Excellent. See, you spotted number 8. So that's good. You're spotting the ball. Who has the ball?
Is it from the line of scrimmage or where he catches?
It's where he picked up the ball? No, you're going to give him all the yards from the start of the play to the end of the play.
So rushing play.
From the line of scrimmage, yeah. So it'll be from
Spot of the play from the 12 all the way to the 7.
so it gets to 12.
So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter when the pitchman catches the ball. It's just that because it's a run option play, the trailing guy gets all the yards, the rush as well as the yards.
If the pitch is beyond the line of scrimmage, then
Then it's a well, no, but if it's still a run option play, the pitchman gets yeah. Okay. Again, if it's part of a run option, if the option player is still there, it is still, even if it's beyond the line of scrimmage, it's still part of the still considered a run option play. Okay. In plays that do not involve a run option play but contains laterals, you credit all players with the yards, but only one rushing attempt can be given. So generally, that would mean the first person who touches the ball will get the rushing attempt, but all the players who touched it will get yards. Okay, so we go from a quick quiz here. From the 50-yard line, Adam advances to the 30-yard line, where Adam receives a backwards lateral to Alika, who catches the ball at the 32-yard line and advances to the 25. Okay, so who gets the rushing attempt first? Adam, right? Because he's the first person to touch. Now the big question is, how many yards? Well, the total yards is from the 50, and we end at the 25, right? So total gain is 25 yards. So who gets the yards? Well, it's not a run option pass, so we're going to break it up into two different people who touch the ball. So how many yards Adam gets? How many yards Alika gets? Okay. So the ball is, we go from the 50 to the 30, but then the second player picks the ball up at the 32 and advances to the 25. So how many yards does Adam get? And then you're saying that Alika gets 5? Okay. Okay, so here's the key to the play. The key to the play is you start from the second person. Where did the second person pick up the ball at? 32. So in this case, Alika gets 7 yards and Adam gets 18 yards. Okay? So always work backwards. Where does the second person pick up the ball from? Even though the first person advanced it further, where does the second person pick up the ball and where does he advance it to? And then work backwards to where the first person picked it up. Okay? Complicated. That's why that information is a little deceiving. So work backwards in this play.
How does that get recorded? Like on here?
On there is, okay, so you say, so basically you would say rush by Adam, and then you indicate the yard lines. In this case, it'll be the 32-yard line. Okay? Then you say Alika from the 32 to the 25.
For yourself, you can put like lateral or something in there. Just it won't necessarily go into the.
Right. But it's something, anything in your play-by-play that you will understand. That's the key. Okay?
So statistically, it looks 1 rush for 18, and the other guy 0 rushes for 7.
Yeah, so the second person gets 0 rushes for 7 yards. Okay?
So if it's a weird one, it's like one guy gets 1 rush for 3 yards, and the other one's 97 yards. It would be 0 rushes for 97 yards. It would look really weird, but that's what it's like.
But in flag, you see that a lot. The laterals.
Here's a situation that doesn't happen often, but it does happen. First and goal, ball's on the 5-yard line. The quarterback runs, but is hit at the 2-yard line. Fumbles, the ball goes forward. A lineman then of the same team captures the ball in the end zone, touchdown for A. So how would you stat that? Okay, so let me repeat. First and goal at the 5, the quarterback rushes to the 2-yard line, gets hit, fumbles, the ball goes forward, the ball goes into the end zone, the teammate recovers the ball. Okay, from the 5 to the 2, and then from the 2 to the 0. So quarterback gets 1 rush, right? He gets the rush for how many yards? 3 yards. And then the second person gets 0 rushes for 2 yards and a touchdown. Okay? No, because it's not a defense. The fumble recovery is a defensive stat. Okay? So the net play is 1 rush for 5 yards and a touchdown. You're just breaking it up amongst 2 players. Okay? So the question now for Brian is how would you want the scoring play to be statted?
So the game summary actually shows up as that guy, the big dude, the offensive lineman, gets a recovery in the end zone for a fumble recovery in the end zone for a touchdown. It doesn't show up as a 2-yard run for touchdown. It's a recovery in the end zone. Yeah, that's what it shows up as.
Yeah, but technically it's a rush. It is a rush.
It's a 0 rush for 2 yards, right? But
Yeah.
we wouldn't put it as a 2-yard run for touchdown. It technically is that guy recovers it in the end zone for a touchdown.
So do you still charge the quarterback with the fumble? Or no?
No, well, because it's an offensive recovery, so it wouldn't be a fumble loss, right? So we wouldn't count that as a fumble.
The computer will record it as a fumble, but because it was because they didn't lose the ball, it will be recorded as on the stat sheet. It's a fumble, but it wasn't lost.
Yeah. And that's the bad side, right? The fumble loss would be the bad side.
Yeah, the fumble call. That's more on the defensive side. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to quiz you on run option or lateral. So we're going to watch this play to see is this a run option or a lateral, because we need for you to kind of distinguish whether or not are you going to charge this to the second person all rush or is it going to be a lateral.
Pistol formation and a left side option for Berm. And he
that
takes
kinda
it
gave it
towards
away.
the corner and a late toss to Osborne.
That kinda gave it away.
45, 40, Osborne into the clearance at 35, spinning at the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5! Touchdown Central! Josh Osborne, 65 marvelous yards.
Okay, so is that a run option or is it a lateral?
Option.
It's a run option. Okay? Okay? The trailing person was always there in position for the quarterback as an option. That is considered a option. So in this case, you would give the 65 yards to
Whoever the guy was yelling about.
the second person, right? The quarterback gets nothing on this play. Even though the quarterback looks like he got about 10 yards on the play, gets nothing.
Lit up too. He
Yeah,
did nothing.
yeah. Okay. Now here's an unusual play that I couldn't find anything, so I actually saw this on a football game, in a football like PlayStation game, but I saw so it was recorded.
Oh, NCAA. yeah, but the way it's lined up, yeah, this is yeah.
Okay, so is this a run option or is this a lateral?
It's only because it's a computer game.
Yeah, it's a computer game, but you know, if this situation happened,
Yeah, I would get yelled at the coach, or why didn't he try to block? That's what would happen.
you could make the case for one or the other.
Yeah.
You really could make the case for it could be a run option, could be a lateral.
Should be lateral, but I know. Shouldn't he be blocking?
Does it actually happen in like?
You see these in like last play of the quarter, or last play of the half, last play of the game. But you see that a lot in passing plays, but not necessarily on a run play. So let's ask our esteemed Sean here. What do you think? Do you think this is a run option, or do you think it's a lateral?
I thought it was a run option because the running back was established and then was always there as the option.
He's just begging for the ball. He's like, bro.
By definition.
Yeah, by definition. Yeah.
So by definition, you're correct. It is a run option. However, you could make the case for a lateral. And the only reason why you make the case for the lateral is because the quarterback ran 50 yards on this play. You're going to give him nothing on this play, you know, versus, you know, the guy just happened to be there. I'm just going to toss it to him because I'm getting tackled. So especially if it's a touchdown play, you probably would consider splitting it, just because the quarterback did all the dirty work, and the guy just happened to be there, and you just toss him as well. So that's the only reason why I would consider the lateral on this play.
I'll add to this play, and then a lot of defensive, whether it's hurry, fast breakup, and stuff like that, it's very subjective. So whatever you decide to call on it, just make sure you're consistent the whole game. That way you keep the rulings that are subjective like this.
Okay. All right. Now, how are you going to stat this play?
They have to score on this play or the game's over. Barmore's got 3 wide receivers to his left and 2 to the right. He takes the snap. There's only 3 men rushing for Millsaps. Barmore throws it over the middle, complete to Thompson. Thompson looking for a block. He laterals it to Curry, and Curry laterals it again, and it's caught again. And Tomlin now on the lateral, and now the lateral to Thompson, and he laterals it back to Maddox on the other side. Maddox looking for a block. He fakes the lateral to Curry. Now he laterals it to Curry. Curry's at the 49-yard line. He's dancing around. He throws it back now to Maddox, who throws it across the field to Barmore. Barmore looking to run. He's looking for a block. He's got a convoy. He's going to throw it to Thompson. Thompson at the 30-yard line. Thompson now laterals it back to Curry at the 35. They're running out of spaces. Curry fakes. He's going to lateral it to Tomlin. Tomlin's got a chance to go. Tomlin's got a chance to go. He laterals it. Now it's going to go to Maddox. Maddox at the 30-yard line. And now it's a lateral. And Curry's still going. No way. Curry's still going. It's a touchdown. It's a touchdown. Scores. The game is over. Curry scores. Curry scores on the lateral. Curry scores. The Tigers lateraled it and kept lateraling it. And the game is over. The Tigers win. The Tigers win.
Okay.
Running option by 7, touchdown.
Give 7 all the others.
Yep, 7. Okay, let's go home.
Whoever the catch is too.
Yeah.
The last dude.
We've for TV purposes, we've actually talked about this. I think the key is it's more important if they score, you probably want to take notes. If they don't score, I don't care what happens on that play. But if they score, something happens. So what you work as a team, you put the spotter spots who got the ball. And then I just write it, and when I write down where the ball is. Second person spots it. The player number, I spot the ball. And basically, you just keep taking notes. If they don't score, so you can scratch it off. But if they score, somebody's going to want to know what happened in that game. So as long as you keep a handwritten note of what happened, that's fine. But for the 99% of the time, it's like you're going to give the first person that catches the ball. Not the last person. If it doesn't work, if it failed, just give the first person who catches the ball, because that's all that matters. Because it's still a completion. Okay? All right. Okay, now, if we have a fumble or an errant pitch, okay, if in your opinion the errant pitch or fumble precludes the intended receiver or opportunity to advance, I'll explain what that is. The result in no gain or loss on the play, charge the original ball carrier with the rush attempt. So if the pitch was bad by the quarterback and it results in negative or 0 yards, you're going to give the yards to the original guy. Don't give the second person the credit for the yards on that play. Only if it's a perfectly caught pitch or ball, then you're going to credit the second person. Okay? So, Team A's ball on the 30, Adams pitched to Alika. In the statistician's opinion, it was an errant pitch by the quarterback. You're going to charge the quarterback with a rush for a -2. Here's a play that we can kind of observe and see this type of situation.
There's just no excuse for it.
Quarterback pitches, is fumbled. Okay, so was it a good pitch? No. Bad pitch. So in this case, we give the rush to the quarterback. And let's see if you can spot the names here. And quarterback, fumble at the 23, returned by whatever that player is, down to the 15-yard line. Okay? So just keep that in mind as you're spotting the ball. A bad snap by the quarterback? You're talking about from the center to the quarterback? If it is a bad snap, whether it's a shotgun or just or bad exchange, the team is credited with the rush. So you don't, because what you want to do is, if there's a bad snap, you don't want to credit any particular person with a negative rush, because it wasn't that person's fault. But in this case, it was the quarterback's fault. So you give it to the quarterback in this play.
Would this be a forced fumble too?
No forced fumble because he wasn't forced by the defense. It was just a bad pitch. Okay, so all passing plays, gained or lost, are credited to the passing receiver. And as I mentioned, shovel pass is considered a forward pass. So this is an example of a shovel pass. Okay, does everybody understand that? Shovel pass. Okay. All right. If there's any laterals beyond the line of scrimmage, credit all players with yards gained, lost, but only one reception can be credited. Similar to what we talked about on the lateral on the run option play. So on the balls on the 50, Adams pass complete to Alika to the Team B's 30, where he advances to the 26, and laterals to Allen, who catches the ball on the 28 and scores a touchdown. So here we go with another check again. So who gets the reception? Alika, correct. Okay, so so we said we're going to work backwards. So we're going to say Allen. So how much Allen gets credited for? Since he's the second receiver, 28, right? From the 20, he catches it from the 20 and scores. So how much does the first receiver get, Alika? From the 28 to the 50, right? Right. So Alika gets one reception for 22. Allen gets no receptions for 28 and a touchdown. Okay? So how it's going to be statted is going to be, Brian?
1 pass completion, 1 attempt, 50 yards, touchdown.
No, but scoring summary. What would be the scoring?
It's still going to be, it's going to be Allen at the end of the day.
28 yards?
Yeah, 28 yards.
It would be
Because
8.
the other part is supplementary, ultimately, to the scoring part.
Right.
So it'd be Adams pass to 28 yards, touchdown. 28 yard touchdown pass.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what the play that I just described here is something that in many circles is called the hook and ladder play, or as Coach Darren Hernandez called it, the hook and lateral play. So basically, it's a set play from the offense that intentionally laterals the ball following the first catch. And this is what it would look like. So it's a set play but it is treated the same way as if
So the quarterback isn't credited for the 4 yards.
The first half of it he doesn't get. The second half he does. Oh, I mean he gets everything, but the scoring. So he gets the whole pass play.
Okay.
But when we put the scoring play, like a scoring summary, only that second part of it counts as a touchdown. Because the first part of it didn't factor in. Well, it does, but it doesn't. Yeah.
so. The line of scrimmage was the 47-yard line, so the quarterback gets 47 yards passing. The receivers get 1 catch for split into 2 people, total 47 yards.
It just gets confusing if you write up the last part as like after that lateral part happens, that's the touchdown. Yeah.
And it's a passing touchdown.
And it's a passing
It's
touchdown.
still a passing touchdown.
And it's a receiving touchdown for the second guy, not the first guy.
Okay, so punts. Punts are measured from the line of scrimmage to wherever the ball is caught by the receivers, or if the ball is down, position to where the ball is located. Okay? So on 4th down, Team A's ball on the 50. Adam punts to Brown of Team B, who recovers the ball on the 15 and retreats to the B5 where he is tackled. So how many yards do we give on the punt? From the 50 to the 15 is 35 yards. And then the punt return is from minus 10 yards. Okay? So again, as a spotter, you have to note that wherever Team B, in this case Brown, picks up the ball, you have to note where the ball is picked up from, on the 15. And then the play ends on the 5 so that you can calculate that the punt was good for 35 and the return was good for minus 10. Okay? Now, if the punt is blocked or a bad snap, do not charge the punter, but charge the team with a punt. Now, if the punt is blocked, the team is charged with a 0-yard punt. The reason for that is because it does not, if the player gets charged with a negative punt, then it doesn't truly indicate how many yards the punter is punting for. It's just because of the defense, it kind of skews the number. Okay? So on 4th down, Team A's ball on its 30. In a punting situation, the center pass goes over Adam's head. Adam recovers the ball and is under duress, punts. The ball goes out of bounds at the 20-yard line. So what is the net yards? Negative 10, right? But in this case, we're going to charge Team A with a team punt of negative 10. Okay? So the punter doesn't get charged with a punt. The team gets charged with a negative 10-yard punt because primarily the ball goes over the head. Now, if the punter gets a nicely snapped ball and the punter punts the ball sideways and goes negative 10 yards, you give the punter negative 10 yards. Only if the ball goes over the head, then you give the special team designation. Now, if there's a defensive return on a blocked punt, it will be treated as a punt return. Okay? Even though because normally we all think of punt returns as the ball that goes to the other side of the field. Now, if it's blocked, it's still a punt return. So in this case, on 4th down, Team A's ball on its 30. Adams' punt is partially blocked by Brown, recovered by his teammate, Bruce, on the 20, and returns it for a touchdown. So, who gets the block punt? Brown. Who gets the return yards? Bruce. But we're missing for how much Bruce gets? 20 yards. But think about it now. The ball started on the 30-yard line. So you have to account for 10 yards. Okay? So in this case, how you stat it is that Team A gets charged with a team punt of 0. The blocker, in this case, Brown, since he blocks it, he gets the punt return for 10 yards. And then the teammate, Bruce, gets the remaining 20 because he took it in. He gets 0 punt returns for 20 yards and the touchdown. So so all 30 yards has to be accounted for. Whoever gets the block gets the punt return. And then anybody else who touches it for the other team gets the punt return.
Is that scenario only if the punt gets blocked behind the line of scrimmage?
If it's returned by the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's returned by, if it goes beyond the line of scrimmage and it's returned.
That's not technically a block if it goes beyond the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so let's say there's a block, but the ball goes forward, okay?
Correct.
The blocker still gets the punt return for X amount of yards. In this case, let's say the ball is on the 30-yard line, okay? And the punt is partially blocked, and it goes to, let's say, the 40-yard line, so plus 10 yards, okay? So it depends on who gets, if it's returned by generally speaking, nobody returns it normally. So normally, you give the blocker the punt return, the official return.
Somebody could catch the ball and run it, whatever.
Right, and they will get 0 returns for whatever yards from that spot.
The blocker gets the actual return.
Yeah.
0 yards.
Yes, for whatever. Yeah, the 0.
Negative yards then, technically.
The punt blocker
Say he blocks it and it goes back the other,
goes backwards or goes forwards.
Yeah.
No, but then
They wouldn't return it. The way the opposite way, they would have returned it.
Yeah.
They don't return it at all, and it just gets down.
Yeah.
Then it's negative 10.
I think what they choose, if it's beyond the line of scrimmage, it's always treated as 0
Oh, I
yards.
should say 0 yards.
It will always be treated as 0 yards.
Negative 10.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so if a punt play is aborted due to a bad snap, charge the team with a rush. Okay, so if let's say the punt team chooses to run the ball, and it's behind the play ends with the ball behind the line of scrimmage, you treat the team A with a team rush. In this case, so on 4th down, Team A's ball on the 30, punting situation, the center pass goes over the punter's head. He recovers the ball, and then the rest is down at the Team A's 10-yard line. So basically, the total is minus 20, but because it wasn't his fault, you charge Team A with a rush of minus 20 yards. Okay. So again, on your stat sheet, just put team minus 20. Okay, for the bad snap. So, but if let's say in the same situation, the punter then rushes for positive yards beyond the line of scrimmage to the 32. In this case, you give it to the punter. So anything that's 0 or less, it's a team. If it's a positive, you give it to the runner, because you got to credit the runner with what, for making a negative situation into a positive. When a player fumbles a properly centered ball and there's a loss of the play, charge the punter with the rush. Okay, as we mentioned. Team A's ball on the 5. Adams drops back to punt, fumbles a properly centered ball, falls on the ball for a safety. You charge the punter with a rush of minus 5 yards, and charge Team A with a fumble. Okay. I'm going to quickly go over this. Kickoff returns from the point of where the ball is first gained to the end. If there is a muffed ball, which means it's a, let's say if it's a fair catch and it's not, a muff is an unsuccessful attempt to catch the ball or recover the ball that is touched on an attempt. A lot of times that happens on like punt returns. Signals for a fair catch, ball is loose. That is considered a muff. That is considered a fumble. Okay? So on a multiplayer kickoff return, if there is no attempt by the first player, or basically runs sideways and hands it off to the second player, we give all the rushing, all the kickoff return yards, the kickoff return and the kickoff return yards to the second player. So that first player has nothing to do with the first player has nothing to do with the kickoff return yards. Again, the only exception is that if the first player goes significantly far and then laterals, then we kind of treat it the same way as if like it's a long rushing play with lateral. But for the most part, it's a set play, because that's why they do these kickoff returns. It's a play where the guy runs sideways, pitches it, hands off to the second guy. Basically, we ignore what the first guy did and give all the kickoff return and the kickoff return yards to the second guy. Okay? Yes, question?
Multiple people, is it just the last person?
If it's multiple people, it's the last person. Okay? Unless you feel there is a significant gain, then you can split it up. But unless it's for a touchdown, I would generally just forget about it and give it to the last person. Next, field goals. They're attempted from the spot of the ball where the ball is kicked from. You add that plus 10 yards, and then that is indicate the length of the field goal. So if any part of the ball is kicked, rests on or above any of the yard stripe, that's the yards plus 10. If it's between, you count it 1 yard closer towards the goal line. So in a field goal situation, the holder lines up the ball between the 15 and the 14-yard line. So what is the field goal length? The holder is lined up between the 15 and the 14. It'll be 24-yard field goal, because the ball is similar to how, like how we spot the ball. You always spot it with nose towards the goal line. So in this case, if it's between 15 and 14, it's 14. So in this case, you add 24. Now, you might have situations. Now, if it's a grass field, it's your best guess. We're not going to criticize you. But for many of the turf fields, and especially in college, they want to know where the holder is lining up the ball. Sometimes the ball is lined up between the hash. Sometimes it's on the hash. So sometimes you have to pause a little bit. It's like where that holder is lining up. Because sometimes it's not lined up right on the hash. Sometimes it's between the hash. And that's where you have to kind of figure out where the official yardage is on that field goal. But generally speaking, most kickers, they kind of point to wherever they're going to kick the ball. And then that's the point that you'll figure out where the official yardage is on that play. Next, let's do possession changes, okay? Basically, when you do play-by-play, at the start of each possession, make sure you indicate how much time is on the clock, because that helps a couple of different ways. It helps for figuring out total time of possession, or if a team scores, you start from when that possession starts to when the possession ends. That indicates how much time there is consumed on that possession. And it's significant only because, let's say if you start the game at a certain time and then it's almost at the end of the quarter, that's a long possession time. And that's something that maybe a writer might be interested in figuring that out. Same thing like when you do like the number of plays on a drive. Sometimes you might have like Lahaina Lulu with 17 plays on that particular drive. So that's the significance of that. Any questions on that? Okay, we're going to do one last thing. This is the last part of the thing. We're going to ask you now to take stats. So now what I want you to do is I want you to practice on your play-by-play sheet how to take play-by-play. Because what we're going to do is we're going to watch 6 videos. We're going to ask you to take play-by-play. Identify the player number. We want you to spot the ball. Determine the down and distance. How many yards do you give each player on each play? And then optional, who makes the defensive play? Okay. Again, this is where it helps. Now, I might run the play a couple of times if you want, but I want you to try and get it as best you can. Okay. So we're at 1:53 left in the game. Okay. Iolani 35, Lahaina Luna 33. Okay. Iolani will be wearing black. Lahaina Luna is wearing white. Okay. So we start off with 1:53. We start off with a kickoff. Iolani in black kicks to Lahaina Luna at white. So again, at the start of your play-by-play, we know that Lahaina Luna will get the ball, so you put Lahaina Luna 1:53. So that should be the first line of your, because that's their possession time. All right, here we go. Identify the kicker. Who's the kicker? As best you can. Who's the receiver? Where did they pick it up from? Okay, so let's run that play one more time. The kicker is 23, by the way. Did anybody spot where the ball, where the play ended? Okay. So at this point, this is where the official on the sideline lines up and stands where the ball ends. So that's one of your key indicators. So the official will then line up on the hash mark where that is. Use that as your advantage. Okay. Eventually, they'll put the ball down, and then that's your final determination. Is it on the hash or is it between the hash? Okay. So the correct answer is Iolani, number 23, kicks from the I-40 to the L2 to the Lahaina Luna 7, return from the L2 to the L30 for 28 yards. Defense is number 1 with a solo tackle. Okay? Your clock now reads at 1:46. So all of this information should be on your play-by-play sheet in however format you want to put it in. Iolani 23 kicks from the I-40 to the 2, to the Lahaina Luna 7, to the player, Lahaina Luna number 7, returns it from the 2 to the 30 for 28 yards, tackle by 1. Okay? 1:46 is when the drive starts. Okay? Even though we started at 1:53, the drive actually starts at 1:46. Okay? So now we're at 1st and 10 at the Lahaina Luna 30. Make sure that's on your play-by-play sheet, right? 1st and 10, the ball is spotted on the Lahaina Luna 30. Okay? Ball is on the hash mark, Lahaina Luna 30. Okay? First play. Flag on the play. So you see the official march the ball. Okay, so what you put on that line is penalty. In this case, it's a delay of game. It's a 5-yard penalty from the 30 to the 25. Okay? Okay?
Is this the sign for delay of game?
That's correct, delay of game. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Does everybody have that 5-yard penalty? So now it is, next line on your play-by-play sheet, it's still play number 1. Okay, we're still at play number, even though we have a penalty, it's still play 1, 1st and 15 at the Lahaina Luna 25. Okay, so we resume the game. What happened? Oh, sorry.
The play-by-play, the time is when the play started.
The time?
When you know your time column on the play-by-play sheet.
The time column only applies for start and end of drive. On the time column, I would put the defensive stat, defensive play. Okay, so we're at 1st and 15 from the 25-yard line. Okay, let's watch the play again. Now you can try and spot the defensive player. Because spotting the offense is easy. Spotting the defense is a little challenge. Okay, so I know you guys were focusing on the defense. Now let's watch the play and focus in on the referee on the far side, because he's going to line up where the ball is. So that should give you an indication of where the new spot will be. See, so use that as your indicator to spotting the ball. Now, when the ball is eventually spotted at the middle of the field, that's the official spot. But that should give you a preliminary indication of where the new spot is going to be. So the correct answer is rush by Lahaina Luna 7, spot to the Iolani 48, 27-yard total, tackle by 92 and 22. Did everybody get that? Getting better at it, right? Getting. Yeah.
But like when you're at the live game, you have plenty of time to see like where the you don't have to pay attention where the ref really
Right. Equally take them down. In this case, it wasn't equal takedown. 92 had the first grab, started to take him down, and then the other guy finished him off. You give 1 tackle on this play.
If for some reason you don't have a spotter, just worry about the offense.
Yeah.
If you can do defense, great, but a lot of times when you don't have a spotter.
But to be fair, you have 40 seconds between plays. You should be able to figure out who's the closest player in the game. So that's kind of the advantage you have, especially in football.
Yeah.
All right, now we have play number 3, 1st and 10, balls on the Iolani 32. Cool. So we know who the rusher is, right?
34.
The rusher is 4, quarterback, okay? And what do we have as well? What happened next? We had a fumble. We had a fumble. He lost the ball. The ball went into the ground. You guys see that?
Yeah.
He picked it up. Tackle goes to coming. I apologize for being here a little bit longer, but appreciate you being out here.
Thanks everybody for coming.
And I'm sorry in advance.
Maybe you're less.
But you know what? This is if you have this is everything. You know, just get the basics done. Spot the ball, who touched the ball, and then do the basics. You can figure that out the rest of the